Dashi, I'm hardworking, calm and quiet, and introvert also, little bit, and I am trying to be a good mother also, and I want to learn new things.
Hi, I'm Sindhu. I'm a loving daughter, a loyal friend, a passionate teacher, and a perfectionist.
I'm Adhanashri. I'm little short-tempered, hard worker, and I'm having the strong willpower. Once I decided to do the one thing, until I don't complete it, I'm not satisfied. And not only for the sake it is completed, still my satisfaction, I do the things, and I'm adjustable. Any situation I can adjust and manage the things in any situation. Thank you.
I am Padma, lowly girl and hard worker and helping nature and good daughter for my parents.
Thank you. Okay. Yoga master short-tempered is what she said. Okay. See, that's basically all of us have a concept about ourselves. We are like this, isn't it? That's when it defines your personality which is there, and that's your temperament. Temperament is your mood throughout the entire day. Whether you're there at home, whether you're there in the school, whether you're out shopping, whether you're waiting in the bus stand, there is a particular mood which is there. Okay, so that's the temperament which is there. I am going to be like this. There is a way of managing yourself, your emotions, and your emotions will help you handle social situations which is there. That's the temperament. That's what we'll have to build in children. Okay, identify what the child is. Okay, so when you're doing this process, this entire thing of self-concept. The self-concept is already developing. By 6 years, by the time the child already enters the first standard, the child has a concept about himself. I am not going to do means I am not going to do. Okay, if you instill the thing that, writing is not going to happen to this child, lifelong he'll have that in his head that I'm not going to do it. Okay, so that's what we're trying to tell you all. The self-concept starts developing. Okay, self-concept is the idea about yourself, which leads to your personality style, and that's your mood which is there all throughout. That's what we call as temperament. Okay, and that's when we tell whether the child is going to be adjustable, non-adjustable, or whatever it is. What is temperament? Temperament is nothing but the tendency to react in a certain way to events. And it starts showing by 2 to 3 months of age. Right from 2 to 3 months of age, the temperament actually starts beginning in children. How do you check for it? Basically, when the child's needs have to be met. If he is, has done potty or something and the child starts crying and there is a delayed response to whatever it is, there's a lot of, you have to pacify the child too much. Or some of the children are pacified very fast. Okay, so more or less you get an idea of the temperament there. Whether it's an easy child to bring up or whether it's a very difficult child to bring up. Okay. Temperament may be inherited and or due to prenatal conditions and the environment. Okay, so some of it is inherited, it's genetically got to you. Some of it is on the environment which is there. There are 3 ratings of temperament. There are 3 kinds of temperaments that all of us have. Human beings generally have. One is that you're flexible, easy, have regular habits and are very cheerful. Okay. Next one is fearful, slow to warm up child, take more time to adapt. The third one is feisty or difficult, irregular in habits and withdrawal or protest. So these are the 3 kinds of children you are going to see basically in the school. Okay. So these most of the schools, colleges will be dealing with all these kind of temperamental individuals which is there. What is self-confidence? You have a self-concept, will be self-confident. Okay, that confidence is the most important thing which is there. What do you mean by self-confidence? Children with self-confidence have a feeling of internal worth. Internal worth means I am capable of doing, I am efficient. Okay. Which in turn makes it easier for them to face challenges and to work with other children. When children lack this confidence, their focus tends to be rather more on the failure than the success. Okay, so there starts that positive and that negative attitude already sets in. Self-esteem. Okay, self-esteem. What do you mean by self-esteem now? Compliment children often. How do you actually build up on that self-esteem? Self-esteem is a self-respect you're going to give the individual. And how do you help it with children? When you're working with preschoolers, they are not going to understand these big words which is there. Okay, so how do you actually build upon self-esteem so that concept and confidence builds over? Compliment children often. Use a lot of positive words when you're talking to children. Encourage students to make nice comments about their friends. Showing appreciation always helps in positive self-esteem. Encourage children to make choices. That's the most important thing which is there. We can't dictate it to the child. You have to give them this choice-making things. Can we do it now? Can we do it later? Instead of using the word no. No is a very negative thing. The minute we say no, we ourselves get irritated. Okay, so can we do it later, after some time? Okay, just prolong it with different words which is there. Show importance in a child's opinion by using active listening while they are speaking. Okay, just as they're telling you some story or something, then what happened? Oh, all those kind of expressions. You will have to figure out what is happening. But then active listening, they'll keep coming back to you and talking, whether it's your own children or whether it's your school children also which is there. That's when the trust develops. The trust is most important that you have to develop in the children. Explain reasons for your actions. Why am I doing this? Why are you losing out on this particular thing which is there? It's because you have done this. That's why you're losing out on this. You have to explain to them because otherwise they will not understand why they are being punished or why they are being praised. You have to be very specific to them. Encourage children to try new and challenging activities. Let's try it together. That fear of the unknown is always there as human beings that we have. Okay, but we'll have to try to have more challenging activities. Tips to enhance social growth. How do you actually build up the social skills which is there? Honest recognition and praise. We have to be very honest when we are working with children. Children can pick out when there is dishonesty. Okay, because for them the world is black and white. There is no color in it. We instill that color. They don't know how to lie. We teach them to lie. Okay, they really don't know how to lie. Most of us knowingly or unknowingly, when a phone comes, we say, tell mommy is not there. Mommy is there itself. And she's telling me mommy is not there. Okay, we do all these kind of things unknowingly. Okay, someone comes near the door, tell them to come tomorrow, tell them nobody is there in the house, people are there in the house. They don't understand what is happening. Okay, so be very honest and show praise. Focus on being more specific when praising students. For example, instead of saying good job, draw attention to something specific that the child has done. Make students feel worthy to let them know they have a place in the classroom. Okay? So like somebody was asking me about some coloring yesterday and you have to tell them that it's good. Good in what sense? Okay, that she's colored within the lines. Okay, and it's very neat. There's no space in between. Be very specific about the thing. Respect. Show respect by offering choices and by respecting students' decision. By showing confidence in students' ability to make decisions, we foster their self-esteem. Okay, and you have to reason out to children. Don't talk about children in front of them unless they are included in the conversation. This is the most important thing. They don't have the vocabulary to express that, that they are not happy or they feel sad because they can read our faces. Okay, especially when you are with your own children or something, as mothers, we have this tendency to actually, he's not doing, when you meet the school teacher, you have this tendency, is he doing this, is he doing that? The child is like, am I a criminal? Have I done something like a criminal?
I had this child for therapy coming to me for around 5-6 months now. So the other day, like he is improving very well now. The recent 2 months he started to talk and all that. He's only like 3 years old. So, and he doesn't like to go to his school, apparently because the teachers do not give him a lot of attention. Like whatever was said now is never done with him. He's just treated as an object in the classroom. So he enjoys coming for therapy, and that particular day, he did not do any of the activities. He didn't cooperate at all. So whatever he went to pick up, I did the same things with him. Then one of his off days, let me just go around, see what he's interested in, let him do whatever he wants. So the end of the session, the mother tells me that, did he do anything? He's been like this at home for the last 2 days. If I make him sit and try to tell him something, he walks off, he shouts, he screams. Till then the boy was quiet with me. Whatever he was doing, he was just going on. The minute he heard that, he threw a big tantrum. The grandmother thought that he's got some pain somewhere, he hurt himself. He threw such a big tantrum. Then I said, don't tell about the child in front of him to me anytime. Then I said, Mummy is very naughty, you were such a good boy today, you did this, you did that, tell her that you did all this. Then he kept quiet and he went. So even though the child cannot speak, he can speak only 2 or 3 words in his vocabulary, there are only 2 or 3 words. Still, he understands everything, no? You can't take him for granted that he doesn't talk, so he won't understand. I can speak anything in front of him. So you should be very sensitive when it comes to preschoolers.
So never talk in front of the teacher, because they'll feel, that whatever you do is going to be a crime, and they will not know when to be happy, when not to be happy. When you have to live with unpredictable individuals, it becomes very difficult. So don't create that with the child. So have him less unless and until it's something good that you're talking about him. Never talk in front of children. That is old-aged wisdom which is there. Okay, even our grandmothers also used to tell the same thing. Competence. Okay, how do you make them competing good individuals? How do you make them competent enough for the... Encourage students to make their own choices and be independent. Provide experiences and activities that foster success. Provide opportunities that are challenging but not frustrating. Don't make it so difficult that the child gets irritated in the end. Never be stereotypical. All children are going to be like this. Okay, his brother was like this, so the sister also is going to be like that. It's not going to be like that. They will be different. Allow equal access to all things in the classroom. Offer activities that foster creativity, which follow students to express themselves. Present opportunities for students to interact with others and to discover how to get along with them. That's why the entire idea of picnics and those visits and all take place. Okay, that's the time you'll actually know whether the child has actually learned whatever you have told in the classroom. Have a lot of activity. Communicate with another group. Oh, activity for them. Oh, this we'll do it later. Communication development. Okay, so now she will take over the communication development. How does communication actually takes place? Because most of the special children, the behavioral manifestation that that the underlying process of information, attention is very poor, is that when a child is not able to speak. Till then, most of the parents wait. Okay, most of the parents, most of the school teachers wait. 3.5, 4, the child is not actually communicating. Then you get to know that there is some underlying process which is there. Okay, so that is the behavioral observation. That's only the tip of the iceberg. Below the iceberg, there are a lot of processes which is unnoticed or not even given importance to. So that has to be actually developed before you actually see the entire thing which is there. Okay, so this communication, speech and language is the most thing which is seen outside. Okay, it is the most noticeable thing by a professional, non-professional or the parent. Easily identified characteristic that children have some amount of delay which is there. So to understand that, we'll have to know the normative development of communication and speech.
So this is the next domain of our development in a child, because the child is a whole. It's a holistic thing, view with which we have to see the child. It's not only about his play, how he throws the ball or how he can do beading. It's not just one particular thing. It's about motor skills, cognitive skills, social skills and communication skills as well. So under communication development, I'll be talking about in detail about speech and language also, because that's the most natural way in which we all communicate. Because that is the most natural skill for us to develop. It's a very innate thing. Humans are innately capable of developing speech and language.
Okay, there are other methods of communication as well, writing or signs, but speaking is the most natural way. So communication is nothing but the exchange of information, the sending and receiving of messages. It is a two-way interaction and requires participation of a sender and a receiver. Now I'm telling you this definition, I am the sender, you're receiving it. So some communication has happened between us. Example, when an infant cries, mother picks her up. So the child has sent a signal that he is distressed. Maybe he is hungry or he is sleepy, anything. So the infant is crying and the mother is picking him up. The child calls the teacher and the teacher attends to her. A child pulls mother's dress to get attention. So these are all various ways in which communication happens. Whereas speech is a motor act. That is also a motor skill. Like how you use your fingers to put the beads and do a string set of beads. Same way, for speech also you're using some muscles. You're using the lips, you're using the tongue, you're using the cheeks, all the muscles you're using and all the articulators. All the organs that are used for eating are also used for speaking. Okay, it is a motor act. It is the most efficient and frequently used mode of language expression. Speech is produced with the help of speech mechanism structures like jaw, tongue, lips, etc. in a complex coordination with nervous system. Communication involving speech is called verbal communication. Whereas we use some other mode, it is called a non-verbal communication. If you're using gestures or signs or writing, so some of our children cannot learn speech at all in their lives. So these are non-verbal children. So we train them in different modes. We help them using picture boards or charts or even the computer. Low tech to high tech we train them on. Now some aspects of speech that I would want to discuss about. Speech is mostly the outwardly or the physical aspect of language. It's one way of expressing what you think. Suppose you want to say, today is Saturday. You can say it, you can write it. There are different ways to do it. But when you're using speech, you're saying today is Saturday. So in what I spoke now, what all did you hear? What all did you perceive? You would have perceived the pronunciation or the articulation. Today, when I say, how I use my lips and tongue to say that. That is the articulation. Voice. Is my voice appropriate to my age and my gender? Appropriate pitch, loudness and quality. I cannot have a very low pitch like a male. I cannot be too loud for this kind of a classroom setup when I have a mic. And the quality of speech. It should not be hoarse. It should not be, I should not whisper. It should not be breathy or hoarse or harsh. Okay, it should have a quality, particular quality. So these are the components of voice and suprasegmental features. These refer to features like tone, rhythm, stress, intonation, etc. Like when I'm talking, I cannot say, today is Saturday, we are all here to discuss about identifying and providing. It's so uninteresting, you have to use the inflections, the stress, the intonation for a good speech. These aspects of speech also change the meaning of the sentences when these features are used. Like today is Saturday. Yes, today is Saturday. Maybe I have lots of work to do on Saturday. So when I think of Saturday, I'm like, today is Saturday. But when I say, today is Saturday, that inflection changes and you're looking forward to the day. Or if I say, today is Saturday, oh, I forgot to do something I was supposed to do for today. So through these inflections, you can change the meaning of the sentences also. So it also reflects the attitude and emotions of a speaker. It can change it into a question, a request, or a statement. Fluency. Fluency of speech, it can be fast or slow, but there should be a smooth transition from one word to the other, one sentence to the other. Otherwise, you will have difficulty in understanding the speech. Fluency problem, either the person is going to say, I am going to It takes a long time, using a lot of phrases in between, or stammering, repeating the same words over and over again. So these are all qualities of a disfluent speech. So these are the components of speech. When we say speech, it should have a good voice quality, we should have a good articulation, pronunciation of the speech sounds, and the fluency with which we speak should be good, plus the suprasegmental features. Now, intelligibility is another word that you should know, especially with when you're working with children. Intelligibility is nothing but similar to the legibility of handwriting, what we say. Your handwriting is very illegible when we say. That means you cannot understand. Same way, your speech is not intelligible. Means I am not able to understand what you're trying to say. The clarity is not good. So, how intelligible is your child's speech to a stranger during his early years? There's a broad range of normal, but typically a child at 19 to 24 months of age, that is around 2 years of age, 1.5 to 2 years, he's 25 to 50% intelligible to strangers. Somebody comes home and the child is trying to say something, at least 50% they can make out. This is what the child is talking about. At 2 to 3 years, till 75% the child is intelligible. 3 to 4 years, 80% intelligibility is there. And till 5 years, the child is almost like an adult speech, very clear. Everybody can understand what he or she is trying to say. And this is also a very important aspect. Like you see a lot of preschoolers with unclear speech. How unclear is unclear? Are all children with unclear speech having some problem, or is it normal to have unclear speech at that age? You should make a distinction. So here there are speech sounds like pa, ma, ha, na, va, all these. The child starts using by 2 years of age or even less than 2 years of age, but it becomes very clear by 3 years. I mean, there cannot be a mistake in that by 3 years. Same way, ka, ga and all by 4 years. And ta by 6 years, fa, ya, all these by 4 years of age. La by 6 years of age. I mean, it should not be delayed more than this. They can start using it earlier than this. But a 6-year-old still not able to say la, then it is a problem. Ra and all is acquired by 8 years. It may be they start using by 3 years of age, but it becomes clear and there's no doubt that they can use it by 8 years of age. Cha, sha by 7 years. Z by 8 years, J by 7 years, V by 8 years, Th by 8 years. And this is some little bit of the normatives for you. Because we have had many experiences with the parents and co-professionals, that
articulation deficits which is there, because normatively that this is how it works, and especially when I do a lot of intelligence tests which are so verbal with children for school placement. Basically they come to me for school placement, which school do we place in. So I do a lot of testing to actually rule out whether it's a speech problem or is it a cognitive which is there. So we have to look into like how she went into the first part, movement of the jaw, lips and the tongue. That's the oromotor. Oromotor is the most important, where we have to look into how is the placement, how is the muscles moving around. Okay, if they are not able to move around itself, there's a different focus which we give to children. And when we do articulation also, there are certain children when we work with, some children don't pick up at all, like k. They never get the placement of k at all. Okay, so it's always th, th, th. The placement of the tongue is not at all happening. Yeah, tat, totalate. Okay, so we have 12 years, 13-year-old children also who still speak like that. So we know that that is what they are. They are not going to change. That is why we say some children don't change over a period of time. Especially when you are working like sh. Like when you are trying to tell them paired words. Shoe, socks. Okay. So more or less, if you see that sh, it starts off from the 3 years to 6 months to 7 years of age. All other sounds are picked up, but the sh is not taking place. No matter whatever you do, it's not taking place. So that's when you have to think that is the child actually listening? Why is that only that one sound the child is not able to listen? Okay, so we had a case like that. When why isn't this child not picking up only this particular kind of things? Okay, it's always oo or ox. There is no socks and there is no shoe, no school. There is no shirt at all in the entire vocabulary. When we send him down for an audiology test, we got to know that there is a hearing loss. At a high frequency thing, he could not hear. Okay, so then the sh is not coming in. So you have to be so good in understanding that normatives. This is normal, let's wait for it. Okay, we usually what we do is that we keep a target. How long? How long to wait? That's true. How long are you going to wait? Any individual is going to ask, how long is this going to be there? Okay, so the same way we say 3 weeks of observation, that's around 21 days. More or less we get an idea. Still the child is not picking up, 3 months we keep the target, child is not picking up, immediately we send down to an evaluation. So that's why we are emphasizing a lot on understanding normative development. If you know what is normal, you will know what is deviant. If you don't know what is normal, you will not know whether the child is having a problem or not having a problem. So as preschool teachers, your normatives, your normative range of either speech milestones or gross motor milestones should be so good. Should be so good, like anybody asks you, you should be able to actually just tell it out like that. Okay, so that helps you to identify where exactly is the deviance which is there.
Now, we spoke about speech so far because that is the most outwardly seen thing. Now, how are we able to speak? How am I able to say these words? That's because I know what has to be said. What is this knowledge? This is nothing but language. Language is not Hindi, English or Tamil or Kannada or whatever. It is the concepts. It is a shared code or system that presents concepts and ideas through the use of arbitrary symbols. Like I told you, dog and the actual dog, there is no relationship between how, that word and how it is. It says bhau bhau, but how did we get dog? So it's an arbitrary association. Yeah. It is a vehicle for communication which has systematic, rule-governed arbitrary symbols which are meaningful and shared by a community. Typically, we use oral and written language to communicate. Other types of languages include sign language, bliss symbols, etc. Okay. Now, there are various components of language as well, like how we saw in speech, there were articulation, fluency, voice and all. In language, we have the main heads are the form, content and use. Form is the structure of language, how actually the language is, the structure is made. Okay, and content is the meaning. Use is how to use that particular language, in what situations, what do you say. Okay, so we'll get into details of this. Form deals with structure of language, how to form words and sentences grammatically. Content is the meaning of language, what to say or the content of the message. Use is dealing with the usage of language, where, when, with whom and for what purpose it is used. So under the structure, that is the form of the language, you have phonology, morphology and syntax. The first 3 components, these are the form. These constitute the form of the language. That is, phonology studies the range of speech sound a native speaker uses while speaking and shows how they are produced. Like, it deals with the smallest unit of language, that is the phoneme or the sound. That is what you use with your children in preschool. You teach them phonetics. So it's based on this phonology. Because pat and a bat, they differ only with that voicing distinction. But the meanings are so different. So the child has to understand the differences in the speech sounds. First he has to acquire that, say that, and then he has to understand the meaning of that. And slowly associate that sound to a particular letter. That is when the children who are at risk for dyslexia get stuck. They are not able to make sound letter correspondences. Their phonology is very weak. So their phonology is bad, they are poor at phonological awareness tasks because their working memory is bad. Okay? So your attention and memory are still the basic building blocks on which even language is built upon. So if your memory is poor, it reflects in various aspects of your speech and language. Morphology? there was one boy who came to us. He's going to be 5 in Jan or Feb. When the first day he came, you have to just sit back and let him finish, because you can't make sense out of what he says. He knows things, he's aware of a lot of things. But when he started talking, it was like, no. Full actions are there, intonation is there, but one speech sound is not clear. Forget words. It's the sound, like pa, ba, ma also was not distinct in his speech. This was exactly how he sounded. Then we had to tell the mother to follow one particular thing. But so the next time when he came after a week, she saw him, she was surprised. At least so much I understood what he said. One sentence was clear out of what. So that phonology this is the one thing that you will observe in all your school children when you work with them, there are certain developmental phonological processes, we say, which are very normal in a preschool stage. But when it becomes too unintelligible and it's not very normal, then they have to get in extra help. And if you intervene at the preschool period, these children are not going to have further reading and writing problems. If you leave it now, they are going to develop into most probably dyslexics, learning disability. Morphology deals with the rules for combining speech sounds to form words. Now you have a word bus. Now you have so many buses in the bus stand. So you say buses. So what is that ES? It's a plural form. That ES is not a word, but it changes the meaning of the word when it is put. So these are all morphological markers. Okay? Jump, jumped. Dog, dogs. Any kind of that. It changes the purpose for which the word is put in the sentence. So these are all morphological elements in a line. So like how that sure example she had given, you have to watch out for. The child is not learning the plural forms at all. Why? Probably he has a high frequency loss, hearing loss. He leaves out that. So he is not able to get that clue. That means that probably there is a hearing problem. So that problem is leading to language problem in the child. Syntax. Syntax you all know is the rules framing the sentences. Okay. Grammatical aspect of a language describe the rules that speakers use in forming sentences. A subject, verb, object. Something like that. There's a particular pattern for sentences. So when we start teaching children, we take the simplest pattern and we start drilling them with that. Semantics. This is the next component, that is content. Form, content and use. Form is phonology, morphology and syntax. Semantics is a content part of language. Content or meaning, it can be at any level. It can be at the word level, it can be at the sentence level, it can be at the paragraph level. But overall, semantics is to do with the meaning. Like bus, car, train, everything comes under vehicles. So that is a semantic concept. Toothbrush, toothpaste, related. That is again semantics. Okay. So all the meaning aspects. One whole story is told to him and he is asked 2-3 questions about that. So that is also semantics, because he has to understand what was told to him. Pragmatics. This refers to the use of language appropriately depending on the situations. Like there was a child who, they had guests at home, and the child, the mother brought tea for the guests, and the child says, don't break these cups, huh? These are new ones we bought yesterday only from the supermarket. The child is not supposed to tell that to the, if it's a very small child, they'll laugh and, but you know, the child should have that pragmatics to say what to say to whom. Yeah. Like there are a lot of people with pragmatic problems. Like one of the examples that our professor had given to us was this maid was working in the house. The lady said, I can even put my signature on this coffee table. See, she understood that. What is the fortunate it is to be a literate. So So, that pragmatics, to understand the subtle cues. So, can you pass me the salt? Means the answer is not, yes, I can, I'm capable of. That's not the answer. You have to pass the salt to the person. So what is pragmatics? How you understand, how you react to situations, and what you talk to whom when. The child cannot talk to the teacher and the mother in the same way, or the principal and the security guard in the same way. Everything is different, including the body language, everything changes. Now these are the stages in the development of language. The first one is the pre-verbal stage, before the child is able to talk. Infant, the child who cannot speak. Pre-verbal communication is well established before the emergence of a child's first words. The infant is also vocalizing from the first months of life, and that these vocalizations are quickly integrated with non-vocal signals in communicative exchanges. You must have seen a lot of vocal play in babies, right from gu, 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 laughing, ba, 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 whatever, There are 5 recognizable stages of vocal development that precede the emergence of clearly identifiable words. They are defined by the most predominant vocalizations, and there is considerable overlap from one stage to the next. The most important thing is the cry. That is reflexive crying and vegetative sounds. These vary from crying and fussing to burping and swallowing, spitting up, and have no communicative significance. Okay? Reflexive crying will slowly change into differentiated crying. Like as a mother, you would have noticed that he cries differently. When there is pain, that cry, you will immediately run to see if the child has fallen down or hurt himself. So that cry is the first form of communication for the child. Starts off only as birth cry, that I am here, I have arrived, Then it moves on, that the reflexive crying becomes differentiated crying, and then they move on to cooing and laughter. So crying comes first, then laughter comes. These sounds occur when the infant is content and contain both vowel and consonant elements. Ooh, 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 you would have heard a lot of that cooing and laughter. From about 12 weeks, the frequency of crying decreases and the primitive vegetative sounds of stage 1 begin to die out. Instances of sustained laughter occur from 16 weeks. Something you make funny faces and all that, they start laughing and all. Yes.
Coming to that, because you'll have to know these kind of things. When she said swallowing, sucking and all, I could actually see the reactions here. You have to understand that, because when you work with special needs children, you'll be working with 9 years, 10 years, and you'll be teaching them to spit. Okay, that's a motor movement. That muscles, it's basically to do with those muscles and that oromotor thing which is there. That breath control is for sucking. Okay, if you're not able to hold your breath, you will have a lot of fluency problems which is there. Okay, so when you're working with special children, you'll have to look at this. We'll have to actually teach them, especially when we are working with our autistic children. You'll have 3 years, 4 years, 5-year-old children, you're actually teaching them spitting. It is such a reflexive thing. Spitting, swallowing, all these are the kind of things which we'll have to do. So they are basically at that particular stage. We'll have to tickle them, and teach them to laugh. Such simple things don't come out for them. It doesn't come out for them, okay, because that incoordination is there. There's a lot of incoordination which actually takes place. That's why we are working a lot on all these kind of things which is there.
The next thing is voice play or vocal play. Using the voice to play, exploring the different sounds, and it's marked by It is marked by longer continuous bursts of vocalizing of either vowel or consonant sounds. Towards the end of the stage, the infant may produce combinations of sounds which vary in pitch and mark the onset of babbling. Babbling is that around 25 to 50 weeks they have given. Mostly by 3 months of age you can start. There is a reduplicated babbling and variegated babbling. We have 2 stages there. Babbling is just not ba ba ba. It's the different combinations of sounds a child is trying to produce, and in the initial stage it will be the same consonant vowel being repeated. Ta, 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 amma, something, it will start off with ta, 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 like that. But after a certain time, it becomes variegated babbling. Non-reduplicated babbling. Here, vocalization take the form of vowel, consonant, vowel. CVC or VCV. Okay? Both the consonants and vowels may change. It keeps on. It's not the same thing that the child is repeating. Various combinations. The child may also introduce changes in stress and intonation. And sometimes it will be so very go on, you know. Yeah, like that. And the babbling just sounds like some foreign language and is often referred to as a jargon, expressive jargon. This is the stage where you can identify hearing impaired infants, where they pass through the reduplicated babbling stage, but they don't enter the non-reduplicated babbling. Because in order to explore with the sounds, you have to hear it. Okay, this sounds like that. Maybe let me try the other way. So all these are going on in the child's mind that we don't know. So at this stage, we can even identify whether the child has a probable hearing problem. Okay. First words, mostly by 1 to 1.5 years of age, they come out with a first word. They change from the state of jargon speech to the first word stage. So they have the self-made words or idiomorphs like anything, mum for food. It's very meaningful, but it is not native adult language word. Okay, so those are idiomorphs to denote different objects and actions. They say abu for hurt or anything like that. You know, they make their own words for that. These words have different origins arising in the child's daily life set. Some of the common sources include pointing, means what, I want that. You know, imitating sounds in the environment. Suddenly, the child sees dog on the TV or the dog picture or something, he'll say bow bow. You know, he won't say dog, he will say bow bow. Self-imitation, dub. After he falls down, he say dub, because he heard that sound only when he fell down. Imitation of adult, chichi. I hate it. But the mother would have used that sometime. Chichi, don't touch that, it's dirty. So whenever he sees a dirty thing, say chichi. So that word has, it has become a word for him. First words do not sound like adult words. They are mostly single syllables, but are repeated. Dada, papa, mama. The child produces the same word, but with many intonations to look like a question, request, demand. It's using all the suprasegmental features. It's like, mama means, where is mama? Mama means, I'm here, where are you, come. You know, different ways you can say the same word. The child uses one word like a sentence. Yeah? Just say that particular thing what he wants. Only name that. Bikki means I want biscuit. So one word stands for the whole sentence. Important objects, events and persons from a child's daily experience are only uttered first. Children target objects or people for their first words. Okay? What they see in the immediate environment, they start using those words first. As speech develops, the child is still coming to terms with the phonological system for combining sounds, and there are numerous instances of apparently inconsistent errors. Irregularities in pronunciation are extremely common in preschool children and do not on their own indicate any cause for concern. That means you will have to see if there is a lot of unclear speech, see whether the tongue, teeth, everything is okay. If the child is able to stick out the tongue fully, if you see a W shape, that means it's being held down. The frenulum is just attached. So that child needs a tongue tie operation. That's why he's not able to say t and all. So the tongue is not, he's not able to lift the tongue. Okay? So if they physically not... These kind of things. You can also do this, then you know. When we put it out, it's like this, like a V shape, no? Or you should see if there's any cleft palate, cleft lip, you know, some you know. baby stop will still replace. Yeah, because the mother is in reinforcing that, no? That is okay for 1 year, 2-year-old child. After that you should stop.
We should stop there. When she's talking about this pronunciation and inconsistent errors, I remember my child. One day he asked me, Amma, will you make that upma with lot of makoti in it? And I'm like, makoti? What is makoti? Green makoti, Amma. That's when I understood it's kotpali. he just turned the entire thing. And then I said, it's not makoti, kotamani. So actually I have to tell it. Okay. And how much we laughed. I came and I told her that makoti. Now when I tell him that, he's like, don't talk about it. He's 9 now. He was around 1.5 when he actually told me that makoti in it. So those are the kind of inconsistent errors which are there. They're just learning those new words which is there. And when you're working with children in Bangalore, they're influenced with so many languages. Their mother tongue, English, maid's language, neighbor's language. Okay, there's a lot of that, I don't know, it's like one khichdi of what the child actually learns, God knows. Because the other day we had a 3-year-old child. Her language is actually Biari, that's from that Mangalore side. She's exposed to Urdu, she's exposed to Malayalam, she's exposed to her own language, she's exposed to English. Finally, she speaks no language. Finally, it's all a mixture of, I don't know what, it was so difficult to do an assessment on her. Everything was totally non-verbal.
She has her own words also.
Yeah, her own words.
What we discussed,
For pen, she said something very funny, and the mother understood that's manja. Manja is for pen, and we're like, in which language manja says?
I also don't know in which language.
She just used it for the thing. That's for her convenience, she's used it.
Because there are too many things, now she thought she can create her own.
So she had her own way of doing her own things, which is a very nice girl, no other issues, too much of language influence was there.
So on their own, they do not indicate any cause for concern. That means it's very common thing in preschoolers, but you will have to see whether it reduces or, whether there's a physical problem or is there an environmental thing and how consistent it is and how intelligible the child is. Depending on all these things, you will have to ask for an assessment. Because if it is not intervened at this point, I told you, it's going to cause some reading, writing problems later. So that distinction has to be made at that stage. Combining words. Now that the words have started coming by around 1.5 years of age, slowly they have to start 2-word sentences. This will come around 2 years of age. This does not happen suddenly. There is usually a transitional period in which words are brought together. 2-word sentences emerge, and these combinations seem to include a great deal of objects. They point to them and name them, and they talk about where the objects are. Location and demonstration. These are the only 2 things that comes initially. Like, or who owns them. My box, my ball, and who is doing this to them. Like that child who came for therapy to me, Amma atita, titita, Amma scolded me, Amma hit me, The 2 words, agent, object, or agent, action. They also talk about actions performed by other people, agent, object, and oriented towards certain location, action, location, ball, outside, some things like that. These are the 2-word combinations that come up by around 2 years of age. It may start even at 1.5. What children mean when they use the word. The meaning intended by children by using the words or gestures can be called semantic intentions. It may be assumed that children do not start with the adult meanings. They have to work towards developing the adult meanings depending upon their experiences in hearing and also using the word in different situations. The common strategies children use while developing meanings of the words are underextension or overextension. Like the child may use a word to mean only one thing and not a class of similar things. Like using doggy to mean only the pet dog and not the other dogs. Anyway. Or chalky to mean the chocolate that the child likes and not other chocolates. So these are underextensions. And overextensions are saying dog for all animals. Those are overextensions. and repeated using of words and depending upon the adult reaction, the child gradually approximates adult meanings. So initially they start off like this as under extensions or over extensions. Depending on the reinforcement that they get, they slowly learn the correct forms, how to use that.
Some of them still get stuck because some children, they don't differentiate between whether to call auntie or amma. They still call everybody amma. They don't have those differentiations which is there. 5 years, 6 years, they still, everybody is amma for them.
Preschool also, the children may come and call you mummy.
Some
Because all these are, yeah. But that is also an overextension. What are the functions of these first words? It's too small, I'll just read it out for you. The first thing is instrumental. Why do they use these words? Because they want something. That is instrumental function. Just to satisfy some need. So they use words. Regulatory, that is the next one. Regulatory is changing somebody's behavior by use of the word. It's mummy can means, mummy look at me, look at what I'm doing. So mummy may be busy watching TV. Child is drawing something. So the child is saying mummy means look at me, what I'm doing. So he is regulating her behavior. So that is a regulatory function. Interactional, use word to interact with each other. Personal, something like nice, and imaginative. The child pretends that he is something. So he says that word. Heuristic, curious about what he wants. Information, just conveying some information. The phone is ringing, the child saying phone. Or if a pigeon or bird is flying outside, the child is saying that. So he's saying information, he's conveying information. Okay? So these are some functions of first words. Oh, this is the same two-word combinations, the examples of that. You can go through it later. Then comes your sentence development. But before we go into this, one marker I want to tell you, like 2 years of age, the child should have at least 50 words in his vocabulary. By 2 years, minimum 50 words. If he doesn't even have 50 words, then he is a late talker, maybe at potential risk for some other language delay or reading problems. So you should definitely refer this child to a professional as a teacher. Okay, by 2 years of age, the child should have minimum 50 words in the vocabulary. That's an indicator of, yeah. We'll take a break. Can we take a break at this point? Because, yes, please.
2 years of age, my child is not speaking anything.
Your child, how old is your child now exactly?
Now
3.4.
he's speaking very well.
Yeah, that's what. It is an indicator. That's why I said they may be just late talkers. We don't label them as language delay. Because some of them, there's a spurt of vocabulary growth after 2 years of age. So very quickly they bridge that gap within 3 years of age. It could be. The environment also could have caused it. But even neurodevelopmentally, when you look at the biological basis of language acquisition, at 2 years of age, there is a spurt of growth. Even if a child is just kept at home also, there you might see some changes in the child. So at 2 years, you have to watch out. If the vocabulary is less than 50 words, you may have to put an extra effort in, giving more language stimulation. And then whoever is normal will just pick it up and bridge the gap. Whoever has problem will still persist with that low vocabulary even at 3 years, 3.5 years. Then you have to intervene at that point.
They also say that preschooler has the ability of grasping about 16 languages.
They pick up language very well because their brain is plastic.
But don't they get confused like you kids tell about
That is, a child vulnerable to language delay only gets confused. If the information processing there's some problem, then only there is confusion. Otherwise, these children form very good representations, cognitive representation of a particular concept, because they have 4 different words for one particular thing. That means how strong their mental representation will be. So bilingualism and multilingualism is always an advantage. They are cognitively better than monolinguals. They are always sharper.
Because the other information processing attention is 0, imitation is nil.
Imitation.
Imitation is absolutely
Yes.
What age we should take it as a problem kind of thing?
Mixture in what sense?
Like ma'am said, you have got a child who was taking instead of language, but the mother is not able to understand.
That is the child's own jargon. But if they are mixing languages, it will be at a sentence level or at a word level. Like they may use 3 words of one language and 1 word of another language. These are all acceptable. Some of them even like the past tense marker will be in some other language and the word will be in some other language. These kind of, within the word also they may have things.
as long
Like
as the
we,
meaning is clear, it is fine.
yeah,
Especially when you're in Bangalore, if you just stand by in the marketplace, listen to people. Okay? Idu kitna hai? What is the meaning in it?
what is that? One word in one language, the other 2 words in other language.
What is the meaning in it? But the message is clear. You are very clear, they are very clear. Communication is
Communicate, there's no breakdown of communication. So it's a normal thing.
That is the way of treating. You just stand and listen to a lot of things. In Bangalore, you can hear all kinds of things. We've seen that. Idu kitna hai? It doesn't make any sense. Okay, so these are the kind of things which we are trying to tell you. It is okay, but you'll have to just correct the child telling that, this is how it is in this language. You'll have to teach them the form and content of that language. Especially when you're working with Indian languages, there is gender.
Inflections, lot of inflections.
Gender. If you do not know the concept of the gender in that language, then the child won't be comfortable in English. Because that English doesn't have the gender. It gives a very wrong meaning once you speak in Indian languages. They feel that, the parents have not got respect to the child. It makes a lot of difference
They
when
say
you're talking in Indian.
neutral gender for an elderly person doomed.
In Indian languages, it's different. That's the pragmatics of the language.
Yes.
That's the pragmatics of the language.
When the child is not having enough vocabulary for the age, when the sentence length, the number of words used in the sentence is less, not able to describe an incident, not able to remember and tell stories, not able to interact with adults or other children, a lot of things. Only then you can tell that it is not normal. Just because the child is using 2-3 languages, he doesn't become abnormal. So what is the problem? So what is the problem? What is the problem?
If he is having that see, it depends upon his capacity, his skills which he is already having, okay, his family environment, and the amount of importance they give that the child has a problem. Most of the parents either underrated
Or overrated.
Overrated. So environment plays a huge role. Huge role.
She doesn't talk. She knows how to talk, but she doesn't talk at all.
How old?
She's 4 years old.
Okay.
And she's just looking at, when I observe her, she's just looking at me. If I'm not talking, what I tell my children there, you have to write or you have to do something, she does it for me. If I'm not watching her, if somebody's picking up the pencil or something, she sits next to me only. She doesn't go anywhere. She says, don't pick it up. She's very clear in what she says, but she imitates what I say. No? She knows that what I say at that time. She says, no, don't take it. But when I talk to her or somebody talks to her, she doesn't take it. She doesn't respond properly.
Respond properly either verbally or she is not listening at all.
She's not listening at all. She's not looking at her face, not listening.
She basically
That's a shy child.
Shy child. That's
He doesn't want to open up.
No, she's not otherwise talking at all. She doesn't talk to her peers. She doesn't talk to anybody at all. It is only
But she talks at home.
She doesn't talk at home. You'll have to get into the
Then
family
you have
check.
to, yeah.
Who's talking to her? What is she using? What are the disciplinary strategies?
Yes. And what, how many languages they are using? Everything.
Bengali, speak Bengali. In Bengali they say only for water, and she's got a problem that she cannot eat solid food.
Ah, this is one pampered child, I think.
Oromoto issues.
And she only drinks milk. Anything solid goes into her food. She tends to vomit, she tends to choke.
Oh, this is Shashank.
Then we have to
We will have to get her evaluated.
evaluated.
The parents are not ready.
I told you, no?
No, they will not be. My child is perfect. That tomorrow we'll talk about.
Tomorrow we'll be getting a
Because today we have to finish so many disorders.
And she says, when I inquire about it, she says, no, they're working on it.
Which school is this? Where? Jalali. Jalali are speech therapists.
Working on feeding it.
My God, we had one.
Don't ask me. You shouldn't be eating, or you should eat 1 hour before you actually start feeding children, because even you tend to throw up. It gets very difficult. So you'll have to chew, because chewing is like,
Jaw movement is there, teeth are working. It's all that required for speech
when
also.
working on a lot of that movement, attention also is building, because that same nerve, okay, it goes to the ear. So that balance is actually happening there. That's why you chew food.
But she's talking. Child is talking, everything she's doing, but only for
Just being spoiled by the
Being
mother.
spoiled.
That's
the
all.
mother is the problem.
This
there,
mother
right?
only needs therapy. Yeah.
So many times it's only that, when we have to just change